People walked into Frankenstein expecting a modern monster story, and instead got a film that quietly whispers, parenting can go so wrong, it creates a 7-foot murder angel with identity issues. And somehow, the moment it starts, you can feel this movie isn't about jump scares or creepy stitches. It's about family, trauma, and the disaster that happens when someone tries to build a child without ever planning to raise one. It's a story that looks like horror, but behaves like therapy. And if you pay attention, you'll notice the film hides some wild facts beneath all the lightning and corpse juice. The first big mindbender is that this entire thing is less a science story and more a tragic father-son relationship wrapped in gothic lighting. Victor Frankenstein creates life not because he's brilliant, but because he's damaged. His entire childhood is a freezer full of unprocessed trauma, and instead of dealing with any of it like a normal human, he decides he's going to fix death. It's the emotional equivalent of someone trying to cope with their problems by building a nuclear device in the basement. He doesn't create a monster, he creates a son, abandons him, and then acts shocked when that son grows up acting like a feral orphan with the emotional vocabulary of a wounded animal. Del Toro leans into this family angle hard. The creature doesn't want dominance. He wants affection. He wants belonging. He wants someone to say, "You matter." But Victor runs from responsibility faster than any parent running from a crying toddler in the supermarket. And that's exactly where the God and Christ symbolism cracks open. Del Toro practically floods this movie with biblical imagery. Victor positions himself like a creator, a god with a lab coat and commitment issues. He raises the creature on a slab the way religious art raises saints on altars. The creature opens his eyes like he's walking into the world as a new Adam. And the tragedy hits when you realize Victor wants the God role, but not the parent role. He wants the glory of creation, but not the burden of stewardship. Meanwhile, the creature walks through the world like a rejected messiah, innocent, curious, doomed to suffer for existing. He's treated like a demon, even though he acts like a confused child who woke up with no manual and no parent to guide him. Every Christ-like symbol, the outstretched arms, the light behind him, the moments of innocence is there to show you he wasn't born a monster. He was shaped into one by neglect. This is where the second wild truth appears. Victor's experiment isn't brilliant science. It's a desperate coping mechanism. According to analysis and interviews, everything Victor does is rooted in the grief of his mother's death and the cold shadow of his father. It's not curiosity that drives him. It's a hole in his chest so deep that he believes lightning can fix it. The movie shows his lab as a temple built from trauma, not intellect. You watch him stitch corpses together not like a scientist assembling parts, but like a grieving son trying to rebuild his past with his bare hands. It's messy, it's emotional, and it's terrifying because you suddenly realize he isn't trying to resurrect life. He's trying to resurrect stability. And that is the most dangerous motivation for any scientist, parent, or creator. The creature, meanwhile, becomes the emotional anchor of the film. Forget the old stitched zombie concept. Jacob Elordi's version is fully alive, deeply emotional, and painfully human. His face expresses innocence and rage at the same time. His movements show confusion more than malice. The violence he commits isn't evil. It's a reaction of being thrown into the world like a newborn with the strength of a tank and the social skills of a scared child. Every scene with him is beautiful because Del Toro treats him as the most human character in the movie. He feels abandoned. He feels betrayed. He wants love. And you start realizing the creature's story is not a monster's story. It's a neglected child story, the one where the father runs from responsibility and the son pays the price. This ties into the film's other massive theme, responsibility. Del Toro makes it painfully clear that creating someone means nothing if you refuse to care for it. Victor wants control without accountability, knowledge without consequences, and power without compassion. He builds a life form, recoils in horror, and leaves it outside like an unwanted package. The movie basically slaps you with the message that irresponsible creation can be the most monstrous thing a human can do. And when the creature finally confronts him, it's not rage that makes the moment powerful, it's heartbreak. This is a parent-child conflict in the skin of a horror story. While all this emotional warfare plays out, the movie hides another piece of genius. The world itself is already lost before the creature ever touches it. Victor didn't invent chaos, he just poured gasoline on it. The entire society is already cracked with inequality, cruelty, and indifference. The creature isn't an intruder, he's a mirror, and the film keeps asking the question that the original book whispered. Who is the real monster? The man who creates a life and then abandons it, or the being who never got a chance to learn kindness? Now, let's talk symbolism because Del Toro puts it everywhere. The resurrection scene is a cathedral of imagery. The creature's awakening is framed like a spiritual rebirth, except instead of angels, he's surrounded by tools and stitched skin. The lighting makes Victor look like a god in one frame and a terrified child in the next. The creature is constantly positioned in poses of crucifixion or ascension, as if the film is reminding you that suffering is his default state, and every time he learns about humanity, it's like he's taking on the sins of his creator, not the world. And finally, we have the ending, the part that makes everything collapse into one heartbreaking truth. The creature doesn't die as a monster. He doesn't rage or roar or destroy. He reflects. He understands. He realizes that his creator acted out of fear, not malice. And in those final quiet moments, you see that this story was never about horror. It was about forgiveness, identity, and the tragic bond between a father and the child he abandoned. The last image turns the entire movie into a meditation on what it means to be created, and what it means to love, and what it means to be responsible for the life you bring into the world. If there's one message Del Toro injects into every frame, it's this: monsters aren't born, they're made, usually by people who refuse to care for what they create. And whether that creation is a child, an idea, a machine, or a dream, the cost of neglect can be catastrophic.